there. I was going to say hi there, meat eaters. I don't know who's watching this, but I am going to talk a little bit about what's in your meat. Paleo, Weston A Price, and other meat eaters. Sorry, I can't even say it without cringing. I used to be a meat eater myself, but now that I got educated, basically, I want to talk a little bit about the corn and the GMO, wheat and grains and everything that they're putting in the meat. Now, if you check this on Weston A Price's site, even if you're going out and finding these great grass-fed magical beef, and doing your research and finding the right ones that aren't lying, you go check out the farm and you realize, okay, this is a good farm there. See, they really are feeding them grass and they really do let them go around. Well, did you think about what happens when the winter comes and there's, no more grass? Yeah. Well, this is kind of like the reason why they started feeding grain in the first place is because you can't get away with it all year. You can't keep raising beef all year long, and feeding it to millions and millions of people across the country and across the world when you can't feed your cows. So Weston A Price even admits, very sneakily on their page that they only feed grass-fed when they can. So all of you people out there, and I don't want to call names, but all of you grass-fed beef snobs, I said it, sorry, you guys sit there and you're sitting there eating your little beef and you think that it is so much better than all that. Oh, look, Weston A Price even has these supposed studies to prove it, right? Which, by the way, I've never seen those in an actual scientific journal, just saying. But basically, they are eating grain, and they are eating it at least a few months of the year. Winter's pretty long, so up to half, it's your call, depending on where your meat was grown, I guess. Not only that are they eating grain, Weston A Price is perfectly okay with organic and grass-fed beef getting given vaccines, okay? So that's another thing that you have in your lovely meat that you're eating in your meat. So you might have some corn and all that stuff in there, even though you're eating your grass-fed beef and you're going to have vaccines. Not only that, but they're also okay, perfectly okay, even defending the practice of feeding their own animal byproducts back to the animals. Now, for those of you who don't know, when they do this, they have to hide it in there because it's not natural and it's not what the animals want to eat, and they'll refuse the food if they can taste it, basically. They're like, what is this? This is not natural. We're not eating this. Poor little animals. So cows and I think pigs can usually take up to about 10-15% of their own animal or other species animal byproducts. Keep in mind, these are the unhealthy, dead and dying animals that fall, and they're feeding them back. So cows and pigs, 10-15% before they notice it. So this is what they're eating. And like I said, Weston A Price says, oh, this practice has been going on for 100 years. It's so traditional. It's fine. So yeah, I did a lot of research on the Crutchfield Jacobses, otherwise known as mad cow, and I don't really think that's like a good idea. I mean, not only just being completely unnatural and disgusting sounding principle, it's obviously just for them to make money and fluff up the feed without having to, buy any more and lose any money. So anyway, disgusting. In addition to that, like I said, the vaccines are still going in there. Lord knows what they're putting in the vaccines. I mean, usually it's toxic metals and other neurotoxins and all that sort of thing. Like I said before, people who are eating this way are not usually limiting themselves to just organic meat. I mean, they might say they are, they might aim for that, but you can better believe that when they get hungry, they're going to go, or if they're going out to their family's house, or if they're going out to eat with their family, you can guarantee that they're going to eat that meat, and they're not going to sit there and worry about how much, antibiotics and growth hormones is in that. And not only that, but pesticides and herbicides that is on their food as well. GMOs, oh my gosh, don't get me started. So on top of that, you have chemicals from the slaughter process. And I'm sorry if you think that your farmer is humanely killing. I don't know what humanely killing is, but I'm sorry if you're murdering somebody, you don't get a special like award or get out of jail free card just because you did it in a gentle, supposedly gentle way. It's an oxymoron. Humane killing, it's the same thing. The regardless of how long, there's still going to be screaming, stress, fear. There's still going to be those chemicals coming out, even if it's a relatively quick process, if you know what I mean, if you know what I'm getting at. So again, dioxins, I want you guys to think too, these animals and all of their fat cells, all of their cells in there are taking in everything that they're eating and intaking, and that includes the air and the water. Okay, so obviously when a plant takes in some water, it just doesn't stay there in those fat cells as much as when an animal's sitting there drinking in water. And again, you don't know what's in the water these days. If you look it up, what's in our water, they're talking about all these new things, all these pharmaceuticals in there, the dioxins, the PCDDs, and everything that we're just putting out there, all this pollution, all this GMO BS garbage, all of these diseases, it's all in the water. It's all there. I don't care if you're an organic farmer, you're not feeding, filtered distilled tap water or, spring water to your animals. You're feeding them what you can get, and what you can get is what's going to be conventional. So my idea is that the whole idea of organic beef is completely impossible. It's just ridiculous. There's red dye in meat these days. Red dye number 40, sodium nitrate. I mean, it's just, there's so much gross, nasty things in there. Like, not to mention like the pus, and then you have, okay, I don't even want to get into that. I'll just stop while I'm ahead here. But yeah, when you eat meat, there's just so many issues. We get addicted to it for a couple different reasons. There's purine in meat. It makes you addicted to it. And people sort of think that they have a lot of energy from this. And again, the hormones and the body chemicals they're injected with that make them grow faster. Not only that, but when they killed, you have stress hormones that are released into the muscles. And these, these affect us. They affect our bodies, and they not only affect our bodies, but our lives and our emotions as well. So, you have to also take into the fact that these animals are having this stuff that they don't even want in their food, and this is going to have an effect on them. It's going to have an effect on their meat, not just that those substances are in the food that you're consuming. So these hormones, we don't even know what they're doing to us. These, I'm reading here, is talking about diminishing hormone production in our bodies, which affects our level of sex hormones. So it's not just the hormone that they're putting, in there. It's just the hormones that are naturally in there are also causing disruptions and developmental problems in us. Because if you think about it, we're not...
Mom?
Yeah?
Can we eat some of these bananas?
Yeah, go ahead. They're so funny. So, basically, it's hormone overload, and it helps you to stay in an anxiety-ridden state. It helps you to stay in a stimulated state, and basically what we're doing is desensitizing ourselves. So, it helps feed the addiction as well. So, urea, uric acid, all helps with making us eat more, and has to do with sexual desires as well. So natural hormones in our bodies don't give side effects like this, but the hormones in meat is just like a drug, and we don't even think about that. You don't even think about natural hormones, but this is saying that there's decreased level of awareness, concentration, ADD they're saying is linked to this, erratic behaviors, seizures, etc. So I could just go on and on with some of these pages, but I'm going to try to keep these a little bit on the shorter side. So kind of in just wrapping this up, still talking about grass-fed beef, it takes, and this is getting more of the ecological side, but I just want to talk about this because this is one of the things that people mistakenly believe about grass-fed beef, that not only is it just way more healthier and way better for you, but it's just sustainable. It's like, it's so good for the environment. Like, everybody should eat, grass-fed beef, right? Let's go back again. Within the past 50 years, we've seen this widespread factory farming for a reason. It wasn't just like they decided, let's just start making this really crazy, really detrimental, really expensive process and whole industry just because we feel like it, just because we want to, no. They did it. They started feeding grains and corn to the animals because there was not enough land to grow enough cattle for all of the people who are trying to eat meat. Okay, if you're going to sit there and argue that Weston A. Price is the healthiest way to be, everybody should be a Weston A. Price or paleo person, then, we should really have figured out how we're going to do that. And like I said, it takes a lot of grassland to raise these grass-fed cattle. There's a lot of, rangelands in the West here, but it's not nearly enough to sustain the 100 million heads of cattle that we have here in the United States. And think about it, if you're having all the vegetarians turn into meat eaters again and everybody's eating meat, then you're going to need even more than that. So I don't see why people think, there's no way that it can begin to feed all these people in the United States, much less address, world hunger. Basically, you go to New Zealand, you might be able to, you got a really small population, really unique climate, you might be able to, work that out, and it might be sustainable for you. But with a world of 7 billion people, grass-fed beef is basically just for the elite. It's, most people can't afford it, and it's just not sustainable. Basically, what would happen if we tried to do this? Well, look at Brazil. It's a nightmare, and I'm surprised more people don't know about this because everybody claims to be so, ecologically minded these days, when really people are just worried about, carbon taxes and whatnot. I mean, we're not even actually thinking about the rainforest anymore, because if we were, we would know that the number one cause of deforestation in the Amazon rainforest is, ding, 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 you got it, cattle ranching. It's gotten a little bit better recently, but basically a huge percentage. Greenpeace in 2009 released a report, Slaughter of the Amazon, detailed satellite photos showing that cattle are the biggest cause of global deforestation, which is responsible for 20% of the world's greenhouse gases. Now, this is interesting because now, and you look up recent studies about global, warming, and what they're talking about now is the methane. The methane is so much worse than the carbon and all this other stuff, the carbon dioxide. So if it's methane, and they're also finding that, sorry guys, apparently we were putting out a lot more methane than we thought in these states that are such big beef raisers, like Texas and Kansas, for starters. So, they're starting to finally put it together. Of course, this is not in your mainstream news, but, people who are critical thinkers can use their brains and see that this is hurting the world, and there's no way that we can feed everybody off of this. Basically, and people who say that, tofu and soy and stuff, that's all grown for these vegetarians. No, it's not. The 20% of this, 80% that is causing the rainforest, to disappear basically. Yeah, 20 of it is for soy, but guess what? It's not used to make tofu. That is used to go to China to feed the livestock. Okay? So pull it out of, you know what I was going to say. I don't want to go there, but people hear something like an opinion, well, that is just as much vegetarians' fault. No, honey, it's not. Get your facts straight, okay? It's not even true. And, trendy consumers like to think that this grass-fed beef is just green and earth-friendly because it's not polluting quite as much as factory farms. But guess what? Still polluting, still got the methane, still contributes heavily to global climate change. Like I said, methane and nitric oxide. And that has, again, nothing to do, it's totally separate from all the deforestation. So if you want to talk about saving the earth, and in fact, this is the number one reason that I went vegetarian in the first place, is because of this system. So do not try to tell me that it is sustainable or good for the ecology, to eat grass-fed beef, because it's just not. It's just not. Look it up. People are saying, they're coming out and saying it now, that basically the world needs to go vegetarian within the next 50 years or who knows what. So I think we'll wrap that up for this one, but don't forget to eat your fruit, guys.